Yeah, in today's episode of documentary Celebrity Words, we're going to be talking about one of the ionic stars, the ionic queen, who is by name Beyonce. Before the crowd, before the culture shifted, she was just a girl rehearsing in hosting. Yeah, you know, most people thought she was actually born a legend, but that wasn't it. The greatness is something you can stumble into. That some people are simply choosing, but Beyonce was not choosing. She was built with thorough discipline, built through failure, built through pressure. That alone would have, you know, broke some people or most people. This is not a story about fame, it's a story about structure, about control, about a woman who learned very early that talent alone isn't enough. Some persons were talented, but they never had a push. They never had the environment. They never had the parental support. That is why you see a lot of talents go down the drain. And most persons being born talented don't actually actualize it because that encouragement and motivation wasn't there. You understand? So we're walking through Beyonce's system, how she survived it all. Yeah, you heard that? She survived it before the crowd, before the legendary and the fame. There were some scenarios behind the scene. Beyonce Gesley Knowles was born in Houston, Texas, in the 4th of September 1981. And from the beginning, her life didn't look normal. Not because she was fame, no. While most children were playing, Beyonce was rehearsing. Her mom ran a salon, Tina Knowles ran a salon. That salon became her rehearsal space. So now I want to talk about the child who was never average. You heard that? Beyonce was actually a child who was never average. Born into the family of Mr. and Mrs. Matthew and Tina Knowles in Texas, precisely. She was born 4th September 1981. And from the beginning, her life didn't look normal. Not because she was famous, but because she trained. While most children were playing, Beyonce was rehearsing. Exactly. Her mom runs a salon, and that hair salon became a rehearsal space for her. Her father, Martin Lewis, saw something earlier, not just a talent, because talent is not always enough. If you have a parental background and enabling environments that supports your talent, you know what I'm saying, it becomes easy for you to move at a good pace. While others were discovering stuff like hobbies, she was learning discipline. Her mother, Tina Knowles, noticed something earlier as well. Beyonce wasn't just talented, so her mother also gave her that room. Because if you are to with some parents, they would want to pressure you. They'll say, it's too early for you. Why wanting to go into music? Why not go into athlete and all that? But both parents supported her, and she was focused. her father actually focused seriously on her. He didn't treat her like a child with a gift. He treated her like an athlete in training. So her father became one of her first mentor and coach. Rehearsals were strict, mistakes were corrected immediately, and there were no shortcuts. You heard that? So some persons felt success always has a shortcut. There is never a shortcut to success. You need to play the ball on target. That is what success is. If you don't prepare for it, you prepare to fail. She lost lots of competition. She came home disappointed. And instead of being told, like mocking her, making her feel intimidated, they just told her it's okay. She was thought to ask how to improve. And they made her to improve, to learn from other people or some other celebrities that are stardom at the time. This is where most people would have quit. But Beyonce learned something earlier. Failure wasn't rejection. Some persons once they fail, they just give up. But failure is never a rejection. Failure rather are stepping stones. Some persons are too quick to quit. That is why you also notice that in society today, some persons die with their talents down the drain. But Beyonce learned something, and the feedback she was getting while she was failing was actually improving her life. The father at a point had to quit his job to manage the early stage destiny child. The family's income dropped. There were a lot of risks at home. This wasn't just glamour, but it was an investment the father made on her at the time. Greatness was being engineered quietly. Her greatness was being built by her parents. They gave her that support. So she was that child that was never average. When they noticed she got the talents, they gave her the push. So to the parents out there, you should also give room to support. Give your children the enabling environment that will make them to thrive to the top at an early stage. Going further, talking about Destiny Child, success with pressure. Destiny Child didn't happen overnight. I keep telling people success never happened overnight. It comes through perseverance, it comes through consistency and daily practice. You have to be consistent if you actually want to be successful. It was years of auditionings, a lot of auditionings, years of regrets, instabilities. A lot of members came in, they were on board, and they also left just like that. But just like the barracks, soldiers come and soldiers also leave, but the barracks is never empty. That was the case study of Destiny Child. Now, friendships fractured under pressure at the time, but success was beginning to manifest. Success magnifies that tension. On stage, they were unified. Backstage, they were navigating survival. It's always like that. The beginning of greatness, it's never easy. Some persons will have combat with you, some persons will mock you. You should expect that, and you should never give up. So this story is about a story of structure. a structured system that is well built and followed with thorough discipline and focus. Now, Beyonce became the silent centered, not loud, not combative. They were code messages. She was learning how to lead. And in her today's story, you could see that she is indeed a leader. She was learning how to lead without appearing threatening. And when the Super Bowl reunion, because at that time, I think they were having some issues. Now, Super Bowl reunion came years later. I'm going to drop that a little clip just for you to have a glimpse of how they survived, how they proved their friendship, and they silenced the hearsays. So that was the first time they reunited. As the group grew, so did tension. People accused her of favorism, of being too visible, of being the reason others faded. But here is what most people don't understand. Leadership is often lonely, and visibility attracts blame. Of course, there's a point in your life when it seems as if you're showing off, but that isn't true. People will begin to blame you because they felt you're showing off, but you're just doing your best to maintain that level or the peak where you've gotten to. While the world saw success, Beyonce felt pressure. Pressure to perform, pressure to carry a group, pressure never to sleep, and fame arrived early. There was no much peace, but she just kept pushing. That character actually tells us of a courageous woman. This her story should as well encourage the girls of nowadays, particularly these so-called Gen Z children that don't want to do anything at all. They become so lazy, and some of them are even constituting nuisance in society. Gen Zs, these are for you. Learn from these great artists. If they made it to become so great today with a little beginning, every beginning must be humbled. You have to be humbled, put your heads down, and know that you can come to stardom if you tame yourself. It's about being focused and disciplined. Now, the solo risk. Living Destiny Child wasn't easy. It was familiar because he felt so safe there. It was already proven. So going solo meant an exposure. And she thought of so many things. What if she failed? There were no group. There would be no group to hide behind. Johnson released Crazy in Love, and the world saw boldness. But you can also learn a lesson from here. It's very good to be optimistic. Everything is possible and achievable. Once your willpower is ready, you can smash that stadium. That is what it is. Now, going further, Dangerously in Love wasn't just an album, it was separation, a test. She had to refine herself without alienating what built her. Of course, she succeeded. But if she had given up, if she had told herself that she wasn't going to make it, that would have been the beginning of her defeat. You understand that? We cannot necessarily stand all alone, but if we're courageous, just dare nature, there will be other ways out. And that is what it is. Success brings about new pressure, expectations, how to keep your fans, how to keep the audience you've gotten, you know, that is just what it is. So you can take a look at the clip of Crazy in Love. And when she succeeded, Beyonce proved something that was very important. She wasn't a product of a group. The group was built around her discipline. That is just what she proved. Success is like when you're successful at doing one thing, you can repeat it again. You won't have been able to repeat it and get it right if you aren't disciplined. So to every success, there must be discipline. You get that? There must be discipline. Now, the success at the point then silence the fear, because when you climb higher, the fall becomes louder. The rich also cry, you know. Poor man thoughts sometimes the thinking of a poor man, it's like he's the only one that suffers. But the rich cries even more bitterly than the poor man. But all the same, aim the rich, aim to become rich, and don't choose poverty over anything. All right. The cost of being the best. Indeed, in her early 20s, Beyonce had achieved what most people dreamt of: platinum growth, awards, global recognition, both internally and locally. She was actually exhausted. Perfection became a prison. You need to, it's like quarantine. You need to isolate yourself because you want to always give it your best shot. For celebrities today, they have little time for themselves. Like day in, day out, they are rehearsing. This where the discipline she learned earlier in her early 20s. And kudos to her parents that gave her that enabling environment. So she wasn't allowed to be averaged at all. She wasn't allowed to rest. And she wasn't allowed to fail publicly. There is no how you can train yourself back to back and still come to mess up publicly. So always aim at living above average. So she bagged lots of awards. You can see that performance. And slowly something dangerous happened. Her identity became tied only to excellence. Yeah, because she can't afford to lose. So she became par excellence in all performance. If wasn't the best, who was she? This is the hidden cost of greatness. You must always strive to remain at the top. Maintaining the height is not actually easy, but it's possible with consistency and discipline. When your worth becomes conditional, success stops feeling like joy and starts feeling like survivor. That's exactly what it is. When your worth becomes conditional. Success stops feeling like joy. Most of your friends who felt, oh, he no longer have her time, she no longer have her time. You know, you don't need to keep lot of cycles because some of these cycles will still draw you and drag you down. There are times when burnouts, one
Okay,
acts
I'm ready.
control and silence.
My worst habit.
At the height of her success, Beyonce
Here's my worst habit.
did something unexpected.
My worst habit is probably
She stopped.
being
She
not
fired
super
her father
organized
as her
when I
manager.
get home. I'm
Oh,
very organized when
can
I'm
you imagine
working, when
that?
I'm traveling, but when I get home, I don't want to think
I
about
just can't
anything.
imagine
Just
how
throw everything around and
sometimes when
I
you
don't
want
like
to
to
become or
keep
when you
things
want to
tidy.
take control of certain things,
When
you
I'm on
get
the
to
dance
fire your
floor, believe
manager.
it or not, I don't have a killer move.
It's
I just kind of
also
rock
not an
side
easy
to side, bump
decision,
my
but
feet. I
something would
can't
have
like
prompted
my
that.
parents. I save all
You
the moves
understand?
for the stage.
Not necessarily out of
The last time I
hatred,
wanted to punch somebody,
but out of necessity.
very violent.
For the first time, she had to ask, who am I without constant pressure? The father actually built her up, mentored her, but it was like there were a lot of pressure in this thing. So that was actually out of necessity, not out of hatred. She disappeared from the noise. She learned boundaries. She learned rest. And most importantly, she learned control. Control over her voice, her image, narratives. This post actually saved her. It was like she was living for the world. It was like she was living for her fans. But she needs to take a break and actually rest. Because
The truest way my
unchecked
heart longed.
ambition eventually
Definitely someone that's honest and
leads
open
to
and
self
that I
destruction.
trust.
If you don't
Okay.
check your ambition,
The
if
most
you're over
inconvenient choice
ambitious,
I can make
you end
is
up losing
smacking.
it.
I think smacking is terrible.
So, to
That's
you
like
that
putting
is
chewing
watching
gum
me
in your like
and
smack.
watching this documentary
I
about
try not to
Beyonce,
do that. I wish I
always
was better.
place yourself in check,
I can't cook very
and it's going to
good.
be very helpful that way.
I don't really have a specialty.
Sometimes you take
I did
rest
make really good oxtails
and
and
balance up some things.
yams only one
Yeah,
time,
that's just what it
and
is.
they were okay.
So she came to a point where there were love, betrayal, and reinvention. This was actually when she met her husband, Jay Z. Then came love and marriage. Fame intensified scrutiny. Her relationship with Jay Z became headline currency. On all papers, you just see all papers talking about their relationship. It's not really easy when two celebrity comes together. Definitely, they become the talk of the public because they are public figures. You understand what I'm saying? But if well managed, you see, they are like power couples. They've been power couples from the years. I think they started a relationship over 25 years ago and eventually got married. And they've been coming together along. So she did something strategic. She retreated. She didn't actually overshare, you know, she didn't over explain, but she spoke through music. That was when she felt cheated. She felt betrayal in the relationship. She felt that her man was actually, cheating on her. But instead of allowing it, she sang it, she said it through music, and she sang a song called Lemonade. Lemonade wasn't just an album, it wasn't just a gossip, it wasn't a scandal, but it was structured vulnerability. This is to tell you that sometime in their life they also go through pain. So don't think you're the only one that goes through pain. Celebrities actually suffer a lot of pains behind the scene, you know. So it was an emotional ownership. I'm going to play the song for you guys, drop the lyrics, you can learn it, you can check it out. You will know that she was speaking pain from her heart. You understand? She didn't pretend to be perfect. She didn't play the victim. She showed pain. But after then, transformation. This was not revenge, but she turned that private fracture into a public act. And Lemonade was a powerful piece, a song that you would want to listen and re-listen again, a song that strengthens people, that particularly ladies that are going through emotional heartbreak. That narrative became a control. Just in a minute, I want you to say bravo, thumbs up if you love Beyonce, if you ever love her little beginning. If this documentary I'm showcasing to you now has touched you, drop the emoji of love for Beyonce. I want you to drop the emoji of love. Yeah, just drop that emoji. It's not easy to maintain the stardom. And this is to encourage everyone in society, particularly ladies, who are thinking how they're going to make it. The sky is too big for you to fly. You definitely can make it if you're disciplined. That is just what it is. So before the cultural power, the formation shifted into cultural power. And we can see this in Cowboy Tour. Cowboy Tour was well planned and well structured cultural impact. It didn't just start 2 years ago. It didn't just start last year. You've seen Cowboy Tour from year to year. You see that it was built by constant diligence. This was no longer a pop performance. This was positioning. The cowboy today you're seeing was properly positioned by a visionary lady. You have a bigger picture. How are you working to achieve that goal, that dream? Beyonce had a bigger picture and she followed it through proper training and scrutiny. She gave a lot of deaf ears to what the public was saying. To every one of you that has a bigger picture, you believed in your dream, you have a bigger picture. What I want to tell you now is to believe in your dream. Drop an emoji to show that, yeah, you actually believe in your dream. You understand? So it was a proper positioning that now led to the cultural declaration. The Super Bowl stage became political. Whether Christians like it or not, keep showcasing yourself in the bigger picture. So when the opportunity comes, you don't mess it up. Motherhood and rebirth. Motherhood changed a lot of things about her. Yeah, her body changed, her priorities shifted. She experienced miscarriage, and there were a lot of fears, vulnerability, and still the world expected excellence. Honestly, it is not easy to maintain stardom. While she had fear and she was depressed of miscarriage, the world was still expecting her to give them the best. When she returned at Coachella, it wasn't a comeback, it was a statement. And after then, Blue Ivy's birth changed her pacing. The twins balanced it all. There was a Grammy Award, the time one Grammy performance where she revealed her pregnancy. You can see the joy in her. She was happy and she was touching her tummy. You know that motherhood when you're pregnant and you are expectant of a new baby, you show the joy everywhere. You understand? So it wasn't storytelling. Even live, even live announcement became cinematic. She was just pictured everywhere. She wasn't stepping back. She was actually expanding. You see the clip of her pregnancy. You just don't have a choice but to love that lady. You know what I'm saying? Now, she made a song, Beyonce, after months of rehearsing Coachella, most extreme with extreme discipline, diet restriction, focal endurance, historic tributes to HBCU. This wasn't performance. This was architecture. You know how architects take time to design, to plan their building, to check the structure, the surface, and to know what structure will be balanced on a particular surface. That is the example of what Beyonce did. They structured through rigorous training and rehearsals. Decisions like that doesn't happen from talent alone. It's discipline. It happens from obsession with excellence. She always wants to give her the best. When you're obsessed with excellence, you go what? You go the extra miles. You understand? You go the extra miles. So Bechila became benchmark. After that weekend, expectations shifted permanently. That's a clip of Bechila there. Yeah, she proved the evolution wasn't taken, wasn't weakened, but greatness deepens it. Things changes, times changes, but your comeback should always be stronger. You know what I'm saying? That is what keeps you going, right? Hope you're enjoying yourself and don't fail to smash the subscribe button. Don't fail to share this documentary to encourage people and rewatch it again until the message sinks into your head. You understand? Yeah. So the legacy and ownership of Beyonce. By the time Renaissance arrived, Beyonce is not just an artist. She is now an infrastructure. Parkwood Entertainment, you know, you need to ask about Parkwood Entertainment. You see her impact. She now have a lot of creative control, touring dominance. She has been touring over the years, doing cowboy from one country to another. It has been a festival in hosting and tells us precisely. She put in her best, even while she's now a mother of 3 or 4. She still does a lot of things that even the young ladies can't do. You see her flexible moves. You see the you know perfection in that. You know it's not just child's play. These are deliberate acts, intentional building. They were built with intent. That doesn't just happen overnight. Now, she owns her work to her own self, control her release, define her image. She doesn't chase relevance, but relevance follows her because legends are not born, they are built bricks by bricks, step by step. You see the building, the bricks building, how beautiful they look. The brick buildings were properly built step by step, and you could see the beauty. So this is the story of Beyonce, bricks by bricks, mistake by mistake, choice by choice. Yeah, it wasn't just all about perfection. There were times they made the mistake, but when you make mistake, did you admit it? Did you improve on yourself? And what was the rebirth? The rebirth is expected to be greater because you accepted the mistake. All right, you understand? So here brings us to the final act, the throne. Beyonce's story isn't about perfection. She didn't inherit a throne. She didn't marry into one. She was already talented. She built herself independently with the support of her parents even before she met Jay-Z. You see their performance, even on Grammys, different award space. You see how they perform. They are power couples. These are their updates. Check it out. So she didn't stumble into one. She studied the industry. Of a truth, the industry is not actually easy. It isn't easy to make it on that musical industry or entertainment as a cult. But discipline and focus can always take you there. You understand? Now, she understood the mechanisms, absorb the pressure. There will be time when you'll be depressed. You have to absorb that pressure. Now converted the pain and became purpose driven with discipline. If you don't have purpose, you don't have what you're dying for. If you don't have ambition, you don't have what you want to achieve. You have no dreams. So this is a story that will make you sit back and check yourself. Check where you're getting it wrong. And check the beginning. She started from the streets to stardom. She started from the streets, just from a saloon, her mother's saloon where she was rehearsing. And now she has become global. It's difficult for you to talk about women pop all over the world without calling her. She's a unique queen. She has done so many collabs with so many people. Even you see, she has achieved a lot of greatness. Okay, if you take one thing from this documentary, Let it be this: talent open doors, structure keeps them open. Do you get that? Talent open doors, structure keeps them open. And if this story resonates with you, I want you to subscribe to this channel. Drop on the comment section a female artist you like us to talk about. I'm going to analyze it for you. Do you want us to talk about Cardi B? You want us to talk about Nicki Minaj? You want us to talk about um, SZA? Or you want us to talk about whomever you just want us to talk about? Drop it. Drop your favorite female artists on the comment section, and we're going to talk about them. You know, this is why we're here for you, because this channel isn't about just celebrity. It's about how greatness is actually built. So I believe there are stories from time to time will resonate with you and give you that belief that you can build on your own. You can build a structure that can achieve greatness. No greatness happens overnight. They happens with clear intentions, with discipline, and you must cultivate that act of not giving up. That's it. That's a habit you're gonna learn. And if you don't push yourself, no one can push you. See you on our next documentary. We bring this to a close, right? Checks, thank you for staying back. Thank you for listening. Till we meet again.